Elara, a talented artist in her early 20s, found herself living in a house that once echoed with laughter, but now resonated with the sharp clang of conflict. Her older sister Lyra, a woman whose charm belied a cruel streak, seemed to thrive on discord. Their mother, detached and often absorbed in her own world, offered no buffer against Lyra's erratic behavior. The latest incident had been a brutal shock. A simple reach for a glass of water had escalated into a violent confrontation, ending with Lyra slamming Elara against the refrigerator, breaking her nose. The pain was immediate, a searing fire spreading through her face, and the sound of the glass shattering mirrored her own disbelief. Elara's gasps for breath were met with a dismissive wave from the living room. Her mother, barely looking up from the couch, sighed. "Oh, honey, not again. She didn't mean it. Don't be dramatic." There was no concern for Elara's agony, no question about what had transpired. Instead, her mother's only worry was that Elara might call the authorities, jeopardizing Lyra's impending job applications. At 23, Elara had been trying to escape this toxic environment for years, working part-time and studying. But every attempt to save money was thwarted by her mother, who consistently borrowed her earnings for what always magically turned into Lyra's frivolous expenses or weekend escapades. Lyra, 25 and unemployed, seemed to exist above the law, the family's untouchable golden child. When Elara voiced her fear of a broken nose, her mother laughed it off, suggesting a pain reliever and a change of attitude. That night, Elara lay in bed, each shallow breath a reminder of her pain and her isolation. Without health insurance, cut off at 18, and with no savings, she felt utterly alone, but a quiet fury began to simmer. The next morning, Lyra was in the kitchen, humming, devoid of any remorse. A smirk played on her lips as she saw Elara wince. "You always bruise like a peach," she chuckled, sipping the orange juice Elara had bought. Elara, biting back her screams and the urge to retaliate, instead found a deeper resolve. Lyra had spent their lives undermining her, stealing friends, birthday money, even sabotaging a college relationship. But now, Lyra had something to lose, a future she desperately sought to build. And Elara, for the first time, had tangible proof of Lyra's cruelty and her family's complicity. Limping to the bathroom, Elara locked the door and lifted her shirt. The bruising was already a modeled display of yellow, red, and purple. She recorded everything, the extent of the bruises, the swelling, her pained gasps with every movement. She even recorded her mother's voice from the night before, the chilling words, "Don't call the cops, it'll ruin her job hunt." She created backup files, sending them to herself. Something inside her had finally snapped, just like her nose. She would no longer be their emotional or literal punching bag. The narrative they had built for years, Lyra, the misunderstood beauty, Elara, the dramatic burden, was about to be shattered. 3 days passed in an eerie quiet. Elara avoided Lyra, skipped family dinners, and remained unperturbed by her mother's passive-aggressive barbs about Lyra's upcoming job interview. Each condescending remark, each sneer, unknowingly fueled the inferno Elara was igniting beneath their feet. On her own, with short, painful breaths, Elara went to an urgent care clinic. The doctor confirmed her fractured nose, raising an eyebrow at her flimsy excuse of a fall. Elara didn't need pity. She needed documentation. She paid with a borrowed credit card, hers long maxed out from years of family emergencies. Back home, Lyra was preening, boasting about her interview at a renowned downtown design firm. "They're looking for someone fresh, authentic," she chirped, twirling her hair, completely oblivious to the bone she had broken in Elara's face. Elara watched, patiently waiting. The night before Lyra's interview, Elara found her laptop open, her resume and references displayed. One name caught Elara's eye, Miss Carmichael, Lyra's former professor, whom Lyra had publicly cursed out on social media years prior for a failed paper. Elara took a picture of the screen. Then, with a deep, steadying breath, she did what she had once thought unthinkable. She called the design firm's human resources department. She didn't lie. She told them her name, calmly recounted what had happened, and sent the photos, the voice clip of her mother, and the medical report. Her closing statement was simple, direct. This is the kind of person you're considering representing your brand. Elara heard nothing back immediately, but she knew her message had landed. The next morning, Lyra left, resplendent in a new blazer and the necklace their grandmother had bequeathed to Elara, which her mother had insisted Lyra should have because she'll wear it more. By noon, Lyra was back, her face a contorted mask of confusion, hurt, and fury. Her purse flew across the living room as she screamed, "Someone sabotaged me!" Elara remained silent in the hallway, listening. "They knew about everything," Lyra cried. "They said they received an anonymous file accusing me of assault and fraud, with evidence." Her mother, horrified, wasn't upset by Lyra's actions, but by the fact that someone had dared to expose them. "Who would do that to you, sweetie?" she cooed, rubbing Lyra's back. Lyra's eyes swept the room, then fixed on Elara. "You," she hissed. Elara tilted her head slightly. "Funny how the truth always comes back around, huh?" That night, chaos erupted. Lyra threw a plate, her mother screamed, but Elara simply locked her door and smiled. The dominoes, she knew, were just beginning to fall. The next day, Lyra received an email. She was permanently blacklisted from the firm's hiring list. The HR team had also contacted her alma mater, submitting a complaint about her falsified resume. Elara had known about her faked internship hours and how to prove it. Meanwhile, Elara diligently collected every receipt, every bank transfer, every email where her mother had borrowed money. She sent it all to a legal aid nonprofit she found online. Family theft, it turned out, was still theft, and financial abuse was a strong case in itself. They offered to help her file charges. Elara didn't utter a word to her parents that week, not until the day she finally left. She packed her bags, printed the medical report, and left a copy on the kitchen counter. Next to it, she placed an eviction notice. What they didn't know yet was that Elara had quietly taken over the lease. Years ago, her grandfather, who never trusted her mother with anything but excuses, had put the house in Elara's name as a safeguard when she turned 18. And the inheritance he'd left her, the one her mother had claimed mysteriously vanished, had been quietly accumulating in a trust. Elara had used it to buy the house out from under them. When they arrived home and saw the envelope with Elara's name on the letterhead, her parents' faces shifted from confusion to fury, then to palpable fear. "You can't do this," her mother stammered, her voice trembling for the first time in years. "I just did," Elara replied calmly. "Don't worry, I gave you 30 days. Lyra lunged at her again, but Elara didn't flinch. This time, she had everything she needed, and she wasn't scared anymore. The 30 days flew by. Lyra spiraled downwards, unable to secure any job interviews as word spread through HR departments about her history of assault, false references, and parental cover-ups. Every rejection email sent her into a fresh rage, but she never acted on her threats to sue Elara, knowing deep down that everything was true. Her parents tried guilt, first with the silent treatment, then with gaslighting. "You've always been dramatic. She didn't mean to hurt you, she just snapped. She was going through something." But not once did they offer the apology Elara yearned for. Instead, her father muttered, "This house was never meant to be yours anyway." To which Elara simply smiled and replied, "Funny, the paperwork says otherwise." With nowhere to go, Lyra stormed into Elara's room a week before the move-out deadline, demanding a fresh start. "You're ruining everything for me," she snapped. "You're so obsessed with being the victim you forgot how to be a sister." Elara stood calm. "Being your sister has meant bruises, silence, and pretending you're normal when you're not. I didn't forget how to be one. I just chose not to be abused for it anymore." Lyra threw her coffee mug. It shattered inches from Elara's face. Elara didn't flinch. She picked up her phone and uttered a single word: "Police." Lyra screamed again, but Elara only heard the panic in her voice. This wasn't just about the fight or the broken nose. This was about years of being the afterthought, the scapegoat, the one blamed for every mishap. This was the story of Elara's life, and for the first time, she was writing the ending. The police arrived. Lyra locked herself in the bathroom, sobbing. Her mother pleaded with Elara, "This will destroy her future." "You should have thought about her future," Elara replied, "the day you left me unable to breathe." They were granted a final 48-hour extension. On the day they left, There were no goodbyes. Lyra stomped out with 2 garbage bags of clothes, her mother's screams echoing behind her. Her father wouldn't meet Elara's gaze, looking at the floor as if he couldn't bear to face the daughter he had ignored for so long. Once the house fell silent, Elara stood in the middle of the hallway, listening to the peace. No slammed doors, no sneers, no Lyra acting untouchable, no mother playing referee with a biased whistle, just peace. A week later, she began renovations. She painted over the holes in the walls, got rid of the old furniture, and scrubbed away the lingering memories. Then she did something truly bold. She turned Lyra's old room into an art studio, the very thing she had always been told would never pay the bills. She then opened her inbox and finally responded to a long-deferred offer, a full scholarship from the university she had put off attending. They wanted her back, and she went, not burdened by baggage, but empowered by newfound freedom. Months passed. Her art gained traction online, leading to freelance work for companies Lyra had once desperately sought to impress. Her professors championed her, and her voice, long suppressed, returned slowly at first, then all at once. One day, an anonymous LinkedIn message popped up. "Did you really ruin your sister's life just to get into school?" Elara smiled. She typed back, "No, I rebuilt my own. She just got caught in the debris of what she destroyed." Then she logged off. The last Elara heard, Lyra was bouncing from job to job, 2 cities away, living with a friend. Her parents had moved in with an aunt who, unlike them, wasn't blind to their manipulations. Every holiday, Elara spent with people who genuinely cared, who knew how to love without bruising. On her second graduation day, Elara didn't invite her family. Instead, she wore the necklace her grandmother had left her, and as she stepped onto the stage, she whispered, "This one's for every time I was told to stay quiet." The applause wasn't thunderous, nor did it need to be. This time, Elara was the one holding the pen, and the ending was finally, truly, her own.